Okay, and before we get started, you are okay being recorded, right?
Yeah, I think I just clicked that I'm okay being recorded, and now my little stand is falling over. Too fun. Okay, there we
Okay. Hi, Matthew. How are you today?
go. Hey, Emily, I am doing great. Good to see you.
It's good to see you. So before we get started, I first of all want to apologize for the format. I know that a lot of people don't quite like telehealth and that it does make things very difficult. I know I was struggling to get on here and try to set it up. But before we begin, are you okay with this format? Is this all right?
Yeah, I agree. It's not always ideal, but that's the day and age, I guess. We got to get used to these all these Zoom meetings.
Yeah. Um, I'm glad that you're okay with it. So let's talk about the fact that in our last session, you were talking to me about your dad and how he wasn't quite the emotional type. And you gave me some background information. Would you care to refresh my memory?
Yeah, it's just it's been interesting. I've been a father now for gosh, 15 years, and it's been interesting to reflect on my father's practices, which I never really thought about as a kid. And now that I'm a dad, I'm more aware of maybe some of the I never really thought about it like this before. Maybe some of the shortcomings of my father, who really, in retrospect, he struggles with his emotional IQ. I think is not very high. So it's been interesting to think about. He recently had a health scare, and and I got to thinking about things like how would I eulogize my father, and I really struggled. It was actually concerning that I struggled so much with what I would say about my father. He's very analytical. He's very calculated. His career has been in numbers. He's been in accounting and auditing and math. Um, and that's very much how he interacts with people too. Um, it's hard for him to show affection and to think about things empathetically, tell people they're proud of them. Um, so, and he and my mother divorced when I was very young. So our relationship has been um, every other weekend up to the point, and up until I was 18 years old. And, I only got to know my dad kind of I wouldn't say superficially, but not in the way that you get to know a parent when you're living with them every day. So it's just been interesting. Um, and I don't think I dwell on it too much, but it has been something that's in the back of my mind as I gotten older.
Okay, I understand. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're saying that, your dad's never been quite the emotional type. He's never really connected on that level with you.
Right, right. And it's been interesting because I'm very thoughtful about my parenting, and I am probably overcompensating. I am probably oversharing and being over not emotional, but and not overbearing, but whatever the flip side of my father is, I'm probably being with my kids. So it's just interesting to be mindful of, how we're interacting with our family members and histories and the effect on you. Like, I wouldn't call it traumatic, but I don't know. It's in the back of my mind a lot.
I see. So you essentially think that the way that you were with your father kind of shaped you with your own child. It's kind of made you act the opposite of him, is what you're saying.
A little bit, and I hope, and I probably overshare with my son. I even talked to him about stuff like this. I'm like, hey, I hope that you don't feel like I am too loving or too close. And so far, my feedback from my son has been okay as far as dad points go. So I'll take that.
Well, that's good. I think that's a good thing, and I think it's a good thing that you are able to have kind of relationship with your son that, maybe you were missing with your dad. But when it does come to your dad, back to that, do you talk to him often?
Not a ton. I actually just talked with him I mean last night or the night before. He travels a lot now. He's retired. He was in Mongolia. Um, and I do enjoy interacting with my father. I think I've been his health scare. He had a mild stroke, a temporary ischemic attack. Anyways, it was really tense for a while. We didn't know what was going on. He ended up being fine, but it got me thinking about how we haven't talked about end of life stuff. We haven't talked about his wishes, and I am his only son. And if there's any talking to be done, I really had to think about what I was going to say that wouldn't make me come off as a like an ungrateful jerk. So it bothered me that I really had to think about what I valued from my father, considering I felt that there are a lot of deficits.
I see. So when your father had his health scare, it brought a lot of things in perspective that you hadn't thought about yet.
That is correct.
How have these thoughts kind of changed your relationship with your father? Did you guys talk about how you're feeling or attempt?
No, 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 no. I have not had the courage to start one of those conversations, and I don't know. I almost feel like it's too late in the game, that there almost might not be a point. I don't think that the concern goes both ways. I think he probably thinks things are fine, and I'm okay with him carrying on that way. Like I said, I'm not debilitated with thoughts about my dad. It's just become kind of a, I don't know, a nuisance thought in the background. And I think I will be able to. It just bothered me that I wouldn't. I'd have to think about how I'd eulogize my father rather than just let it flow. Like I almost have to have a script ready of all the things I'm gonna talk about, because I'm gonna have to really go through my memory banks and really focus on those positive things, especially when more negative things kind of come to my mind.
I can understand that, and I'm sure it's difficult to not really know what to say about and when you would want to eulogize them, and I think that that's okay, especially in the relationship that you have, for it to be that way. But it's a good thing that you're thinking about it. Um,
Well,
you,
thanks. And like I said, it's one of those things it's just kind of out there. And and then it got me thinking, once again, there's some burden put on the child that is expected to um be the caregiver, be the one who's taking care of things at the end. And I don't know, I really hadn't thought about that. So I don't know.
so uh, so you're worried about um what essentially is going to happen when something does happen to your father.
Yeah, both my parents are, getting older, and I think it's appropriate to start thinking about, what it's going to look like. We're very busy at our house, so it's easy to get behind on a lot of stuff, and just to, I don't know, get back up to speed on where everyone's at with, their care, what their wishes are, all that stuff. So as my folks approach their 80s, I don't know, it's become more of a real issue, and what things I have to change in my life in anticipation of possibly caring for a parent. So I don't know.
So from what I'm understanding, are you a child?
I am the only child of the marriage between my mother and father, which they divorced when I was 2. Now I have other siblings after they both remarried. So I have step brothers and half sisters, but I'm the oldest.
I see. So, and like in most families, it would fall to the oldest, and that's what you're worried about.
It's what I think about. I do think
Yeah.
about it, and I am my father's only son, so there will be some expectation of me if something should happen to him. So, and like I said, that event, he is super healthy, but that unexpected um, mini stroke, I don't know, really got my wheels spinning on it.
And I can understand that, and it's a it's a good thing that you can admit that it kind of stirred some emotions up in there that you maybe didn't have before. Um, what is something that you could do to kind of well, let me ask you this first. Do you think that your sibling via your father's second marriage, do you think that they would be willing if something happened to help take care of him or
I do. It's funny how all this stuff evolves. My father and my stepmother elected to actually live closer to my youngest stepbrother. They're out in Austin, Texas. So, I mean, I actually would guess that if push comes to shove, the first line of defense is going to be the Austin contingent between my younger brother and my stepmother, and I will be kind of monitoring. Should things deteriorate further, then yeah, I'd probably be expected to get out to Texas, um, and help deal with things. My middle stepbrother, I doubt he would be very involved. So if it gets if things don't really go south, yeah, it's all coming to me.
I see. So you're
I'm sorry, I'm in my office and my lights are turning off. There we go.
all right. So there would what you're saying. It seems like there would be some help, but ultimately, when things became too much, then it would fall to you, and that's something that you think about.
That's correct. That's correct. And I don't think I dwell on it, or maybe I do. I'm usually pretty honest with my thoughts, but it's definitely in, I don't know, pre-conscious mind. It's kind of lingering out there because parents are getting any younger,
Yeah.
um, and I'm fully aware that uh, somebody's somebody's going to start to deteriorate, um, and I'll be expected to deal with it. But
Hmm.
come what may.
Are there things that you've tried um, to kind of help you process your thoughts on this subject?
I probably need to write a lot of this stuff down. And I'm not I enjoy talking with you about this stuff because it does saying these things out loud is helpful.
Yeah.
Um, actually, having a conversation with my dad, we don't see each other a lot, and when we do see each other, we try to keep the mood fairly light. Um, but there might be an opportunity for a heart to heart, like, you know, how we think things have come and where our relationship is at. I don't know. That's a tough conversation for him. So I don't know if that's necessary. So I don't know. I'll have to see. And there's usually not a lot of time. When they do come to visit, it's busy. So having long sit down conversations, just he and I, the opportunity is rare. So I don't know. I don't know. I'll keep that in the back of my mind.
Um, but you think that maybe journaling about it or writing down thoughts on the situation could be helpful to you.
It may sound weird, but I've been tempted to write the eulogy for my dad. Um, just so I'd have it kind of ready and that I could organize my thoughts, not under duress of, having the immediacy of having to do it, just kind of write it out. Although it seems spooky. Like, I don't know if I want to write someone's eulogy while they're still alive.
And and I think that that's a very good way of looking at it. Maybe it is best to help, just get your thoughts in order. That way you don't have to stress about it later. And I think that's a good way to look at it. But also, I think that, there's nothing wrong with doing it ahead of time, because we know that when we're under stress or under duress, it can kind of stress us out more and make things more difficult. And before a funeral, not a whole lot of time for that. So I think that doing it that way would, it could be potentially beneficial for you.
Well, and I appreciate that. It only sounds a little bit macabre, but maybe that it might be a good exercise. I won't tell him that I wrote his eulogy.
Is how one more question I want to ask you is how you have experienced everything with your father and the way he acts. I know you said that it's made you kind of not really I don't want to say an oversharer with your son, but it's kind of made you the complete opposite. But how has your son taken to you being that way? Does he seem like it doesn't bother him, or does he ever just say, "Dad, you are
Dad, you need to cut it out."
Yeah.
Parenting's funny. I love it, and I think the feedback I'm getting from my kids in observing them in nature, I like to call it, with their friends, I think I'm doing an okay job raising them, and I think that I am making them good communicators. And like I said, I try to be sensitive to whether or not Daddy is over communicating or oversharing. One of the nicest bits of feedback I've gotten from my son is that actually his favorite thing is for when he and I take a drive in the car and it's just he and I and we get to talk. So uh, I love that. And he's actually very protective of his time with his dad. So I think at least 15 years into his life, we are doing okay. And he's a brilliant little dude. I just hope he's successful.
It seems like you guys have a very good relationship, and I'm very glad for you that you do. I think that's a lot of things that I think it's something that a lot of parents and children are missing out on. So, I'm happy for you with your relationship with him. Is there anything else that's been going on?
No, everything seems to be moving along all right. I appreciate you always being available for me. I don't know if I mentioned the transition I'm going through at work. I'm leaving something I've done for many years to embark on something new, so that's a little disconcerting, but exciting at the same time. And moving forward with that, trying to get all that paperwork taken care of. I'm looking at it on my desk right now. But otherwise, we're in a pretty good headspace, I think. Busy, we're ready for a little break, and ready to, I don't know, be more relaxed, be less stressed, be more mindful. And yeah, I think we're doing all right. You doing okay, Dr. Maynard?
Yeah, I am. Thank you for asking. Well, if there is nothing else that you would like to talk about today, we will continue with our weekly sessions, and hopefully by then, maybe try to, like we talked about, do the journaling and try to write that eulogy that you were talking about.
Maybe that'll be bizarre for the next time we meet. I can read it to you. If I've got enough courage to write it. I don't know. Still seems pretty freaky. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Well, we'll set up our next appointment and I will talk to you then. And I hope that everything goes well.
That sounds great. I appreciate you.
All right. I appreciate you. Bye-bye.
You take care.